So let's dive right into this and escape all the formalities and let you see what I've done here. And obviously I have already disassembled it, but I want to show you the components of this disassembly. Now these mechanisms here, or these guns, can actually be removed because they're just held in place not only by a contoured mold, but there's two screws that hold it in place when you match it up onto the body. And the nice thing about this is that they're already hollowed out. So if you wanted to add lights to this to show a firing mechanism, it's already done for you. It's great. And it just makes it a lot easier to paint individually. And that's for both sides. Now this is the jet engine that is, well, it's in the center for some reason. And it does have these two components bolted on there. You don't have to take them off if you don't want to. If you want to paint it, it makes it easier. The handlebars have their own screw, and the seat has two screws that hold it in place. And this is the tail light, or I should say the exhaust. In the movie it shows blue, and I will be doing that in the lighting sequence later on. This is the actual top of the cycle. This would be the rear toward the driver, and then my right side is the one toward the wheels in the front. This would be the headlights right here looking at the front, and the two handlebars come out from these two openings. Now this also has screws that hold this molding in place. You don't have to take them off if you don't want to, unless you're going to paint it. This is the actual chassis. There are three screws that hold in that rear, and you can see the holes there that hold the screws, and that easily removes the rear wheel. And on the side you have these other openings. There's actually three more screws here. These other openings here are for those actual machine gun pieces, and they lock in place with the two screws coming in from the inside. And you can see that in the center there. If you want to paint this, this is the time to do it because it's easier. When you slide it open like this, like the other cycle, you notice that there's a bit of wobble there. Well, that mechanism, or that shaft that holds that, well, actually it doesn't hold these wheels together. It just holds that hub onto it. You can actually remove that. I'll show you in just a minute. Now, if you want to see how this fits, there's actually a few notches that this will actually lock into, and that's what makes it difficult to pry it open. Once you remove the screws, what's holding it together are the notches from either side of this unit in the center. So once you slowly and carefully pry it open, you can remove all of the inner workings. But as you can see, if you want to do any kind of wiring or battery install, it's plenty of room. And we'll show you that in just a minute. For now, this video will focus only on the painted project. You already know how to dry brush. You already know how to do some airbrushing. The whole point of this video is to show you what you can do with this cycle. And everybody's going to have one or two different ideas on how to do this. The thing is that it's really simple to take it apart. A lot easier than the last one. Now this is obviously backwards here, but this shows you this goes on top. And those two openings at the top are the openings where it will lock into place. Now if you look on the inside, this is where we're going to attach some lighting, or a kit that I bought from evandesigns.com to be able to light this unit. Now these wheels are not actual rubber. They are actually a coated plastic that feels like rubber. It is softer, but it is not a true rubber. Now as you can see here, I did remove that wheel well from the center, or that hub, and that just bolts onto the inside, but you can't remove that screw if you don't remove the hub. And you just have to lightly wiggle it out until it gives way. Now don't paint the back side of this, don't paint the inside, only paint the rim, and only paint the exterior side of the hub. That way you don't have paint rub on the inside causing it to stick and causing friction. This is the shaft that holds these two together. There is a right and a left side, and they are marked right and left so that you don't make a mistake on where they go, because they only attach one way. So don't force the screw into the opening if it doesn't seat down correctly. If it doesn't seat down correctly, you obviously have the wrong side. It just drops on the inside, and once it's painted, you'll be set to go. Now, I do have to let you know that if you are going to mask this out, that tape, depending on the tape you use, it may be too sticky and it'll start adhering to that rubber coating on this plastic. You'll have to clean it off with maybe some Goo Gone or warm soap and water. Now, on the inside here, now we have access to those ports that could be lights. And they have to be very tiny lights, or they have to be a fiber optic. But we'll get to that later. At the meantime, I am going to put a light in the back for mine, but I will keep it as simple as possible so that you can do this for yourself. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually perforate this bottom here and add some lights on the inside to the bottom. But again, that's going overboard. We're going to keep this video as simple as possible so that people can do this on their own. Very simple screwdriver, Phillips head. This is all you need to take it apart. There's only a few screws until you get to the inside to remove other components. And this is what you should end up with. This is the fully painted cycle. I did use a base coat of a primer, and I actually primered it just using a sealant, the Liquitex matte spray. And that just gave it enough tooth to be able to have the paint grab onto that. Now, I did go back in and do lots of dry brushing with the silver, and I used also a base coat of gunmetal gray from Vallejo, and I sprayed that on with the airbrush, and that gave it a metallic reflective look. And then I went back over it with any shading in a darker gray or even the black, depending on where I wanted the light to come from. And I wanted it to come from the top, obviously, so the dark shadow areas are on the bottom. And then I augmented that by adding some wear and tear, by having some dirt, etc. from the bottom. You can decide however you want to paint it. Now, in the second half of the video, this is what we're going to be considering or installing, which is the TP4056 recharge board, USB-C, and we're going to install it for the reason because I want a rechargeable battery. I don't know about you, but I don't like buying quantities of batteries. This has an indicator light telling me that it's charged when it's blue, and when it's not charged or it is charging, it is in a red, and I will have the space inside this unit to be able to light those indicators or show the indicators lighting up when they're working. So it's nice to have that option, and I'll be doing that in the cycle just like I did in some of the other units that I've already made. And this is the same unit that I've used before in other projects. The computers, the Bane tube that I had lighted up, etc. Now, as you can see on the right, it's already set up for you to just attach the cables to your battery and from the unit to your lighting units. And that just makes it so much easier when it's set up like this. And you can get these from Amazon or eBay. They're very inexpensive. You can get them in USB-C, micro USB, or a standard USB. It really makes it very convenient to just charge a LiPo battery or the battery that I'm going to use on this, which is a little bit smaller, only because there's only a few lights to light up. So if you are using a rechargeable battery, you will need one of these resistors to tone down the voltage and not burn out those LEDs, or simply because you don't want them to fluctuate in the power. Now the other set of lighting gear, which is this harness from evandesigns.com, I'll be using to be able to hook up the lighting kits or units to the actual board itself. And doing it this way, again, it's much easier to disconnect it instead of resoldering things and to switch them out if they ever do burn out. And it makes it so much quicker and easier if, well, as you see here in the split that we did in the disassembly, we're going to have a right and left side. And if the units are split like that, there's lighting on both sides, and this is an easy way to match them up or link them. Once you bring the two halves together, it's just a much quicker way, an easier way to get this done. This is the switch that I will be implementing inside the unit to turn it on and off. Makes it so much nicer. But it's up to you what switch you want to use. Now this is a battery that you can use in this unit if you only have a few lights, but if you have a larger quantity of lights, you want something like this because it's going to allow you to have that much more potential. Now let's have a closer look at the painted cycle. If this is all you want to do with your cycle, then you're set, you're ready to go. This video really just concentrates on the actual painting, and I've chosen a gunmetal weathered look. You can choose whatever look you want for your vehicle. I just really wasn't keen on the green metallic or military look with the black underneath. But you can choose to paint it any color you like. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can take it apart easily. I do have some scuffs here on this cycle in the center, but that's where I'm going to put in my switch, and on the opposite side the USB-C recharge board. And those 3 holes on the rear hub, that's all that holds that hub together to that tire or that wheel, so it removes really easy. The other 3 ports, as you saw earlier, hold the actual cycle together, and then those guns are actually held with 2 screws on the inside. Now let me tell you something about these tires. It's not an actual true rubber tire. It is only coated with a rubber type coating that makes it feel like rubber. The tires are a soft plastic, but it's not a true rubber. So be very careful if you are masking things out here and you decide that you want to use your knife to cut on top of those tires. It's not going to work. It's going to damage the tire permanently. You cut that coating, you totally ruined the tires. Now, keep in mind that you can weather it as far as you like. I happen to have also a piece of extra pleather, which I'm going to use to reupholster the seat and just make it look that much, well, more realistic. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with some video, and we'll see you here next time. So we have reached 7,000 subscribers. Thank you everybody for participating and following the channel. And as promised, somebody has won a custom painted Superboy head sculpt with tiny glasses. Your name shows up on the screen. You have until the end of this week to claim your prize, or it goes on to somebody else. Or I get to keep it, use it again. Either way, make sure you contact me before the weekend, and I can ship this out to you as soon as possible. We'll see you here next time.